Okay, welcome Public Safety Advisory Board. It's been a couple of years since you've been here. So it's nice to have you guys back. I'll like to take the roll call. This is February 15th, 2022. Mark.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. T.
Here.
Devrin.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Stan. Thank you. Okay, so the next item of business on the agenda is to elect a chair and a vice chair. So any of you may make a motion to suggest a chair.
But I'm gonna motion that Mark be the chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. T be vice chair.
Okay.
Second.
Right. So let's, if the people who have been nominated for those positions are okay with it, we can vote on both all at one time. All right, so I'll go ahead and just call out your name. Dan,
Yes.
Devrin, Stan. Yeah, it's for Dr. T being the chair and,
Vice chair.
oh, sorry, wait a minute.
Chair vice.
Mark being the chair and Dr. T being the vice chair.
Great.
Thank you. Dr. T
Yes.
and Mark,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so now the chair takes over. But I'll help you. So basically, you're just going to look at your agenda and the next item is approval of minutes, and we don't have any minutes. It's been so long.
Roger that.
If anybody would like to make an amendment to the agenda, add something to the agenda, we can do that now, or we approve it as it is.
Motion, we approve it as it is.
Sounds
As it
good.
is.
Now,
Okay.
I have one question, and again, it's been a conflict going to the school board meetings. My understanding of Robert's Rules of Order is the chair cannot
Make a motion.
make a motion.
That is true.
Okay, because they always do it. I'm like, you can't do that, but, okay, yeah, all right. I just want to make sure that I understood those Confederacy generated rules.
That is true. That's the way that Robert's Rules of Order
Okay, all right,
works.
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, really the proper way to do the agenda is to ask for a motion to approve the agenda and then someone seconds it and then you all say yay.
So I motion we approve as is.
Would you like me to take a roll call vote or would you like to just ask everyone yay or nay?
Dan, yay? Mark?
Yay.
Dan?
Great, thank you, everybody. Okay. Now, if there was an audience, you would say this is persons to be heard related to the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? And then you'd ask them to come up to the podium and tell them they get 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. And then the same for persons to be heard unrelated to the agenda. And we have no one in the audience. So then we move to,
Seems like the staff report.
thank you.
Who wants to go first, Sandy or Chief?
It'd be best, yeah, because that way it gets recorded.
So I'm Sandy Dixon. I'm the Fire EMS Director for the Petersburg Volunteer Fire Department. So I'm just going to read off some notes that I have, and then if you have questions, we'll go from there. So currently we have 81 members for the PVFD. 3 are paid staff or career staff, depending on how you want to term it. And we have 78 volunteers, and I'll break that down for you. There are 18 people trained or certified specifically for fire branch, 11 for EMS, 24 for search and rescue. There's 1 person that is fire, EMS, and search and rescue. Yeah. 8 people who are cross-trained in fire and EMS, 4 people who are cross-trained in fire and search and rescue, and 4 people cross-trained in EMS and search and rescue. So they're in multiple branches. And then we have 8 other people classified as other. So they could be just a boat operator or an ambulance driver, support personnel, things like that, medical directors, things like that. Training, fire trains 3 times a week or a month, excuse me, on Thursdays. The first Thursday of the month is a business meeting for the department. EMS trains twice a month on Wednesdays, and search and rescue trains twice a month on Tuesdays. The 3 career staff are myself. I am a salaried employee. I work Monday through Thursday, or at least that's my schedule. Fire marshal is hourly. He works Wednesday through Saturday, 10-hour days. And the EMS coordinator is hourly and works Sunday through Wednesdays. Volunteers, we have the volunteer officers that get a small stipend, which is not nearly enough, but they get a little something to help with their extra duties and maybe help with gas for responding to calls. So the Petersburg Volunteer Fire Chief is supervised by myself, and then he supervises the rest of the volunteers. We have 2 assistant chiefs, 3 captains, 1 in fire, 1 in EMS, and 1 in search and rescue, and 6 lieutenants, 2 in fire, 2 in EMS, and 2 in search and rescue. We have our medical director, who is Dr. Tusillo. He does not get a stipend, but we do pay him a very tiny little fee once a year.
Oh.
Well, thank you for that, because other medical directors actually charge tens of thousands of dollars. So we are very fortunate for him. Don't get any ideas, Dr. T. Last year for 2021, fire had 72 call outs, and that goes anywhere from smells and bells to actual fires or false alarms. Smells and bells, that's, yeah. EMS had a record-breaking 265 call outs, and that's anywhere from medevacs to standbys, false alarms, or real calls. And search and rescue had a whopping 6 calls. They train as much as EMS does and have the least amount. So it's really interesting that they can maintain as many SAR volunteers as they do, but we appreciate them. We do struggle to get new volunteers. It's just hard. And then we're not really losing that fast of rate, but it is hard to keep them. So we've been trying to figure out ways or incentives to bring people in and to keep them. And I think that's all I had for my report. Do you have any questions for me?
Sandy, the new fire truck is on schedule still for next
Oh,
year?
yes, yes. It should be here in 2024.
Oh, 2024?
I'm looking at you, Devon.
I
Yes.
thought they said 23.
No,
but
2023.
23, yeah.
We're in
Okay.
22 now, yes. So yes, it's on track. Ryan is currently looking for items to outfit that truck that are expired or we didn't have on the previous engine 5 or the current engine 5.
Okay.
And that will not come out of the motor pool replacement fund, which I didn't talk about either. Obviously, we have a motor pool replacement fund. Before this fire truck, we had like $1.2 million in that fund. And this, I can't remember the price. Over 400,000, do you remember? Just under $500,000.
So, I'm gonna get my.
So what are we doing with the truck 5?
That will be up for discussion. Obviously, we're getting rid of it for a reason, so we could donate to another island. We could, because we don't want it here. We could sell it. Usually you don't get too much for it. But yeah, there's a reason that we're not keeping it. No, it's a 4-wheel drive engine. It is 1,250 gallons. No, 750 gallons, geez, sorry. And 1,250 gallons per minute pump capability. It only seats 2 people. So,
Sandy, the other equipment, hoses, couplings, all that sort of stuff that would have to go in the new truck?
no, we're going to transfer most of that from engine 5. It's been replaced enough. I think that it's new enough that we can transfer it over.
Okay, so what kind of things were you looking for the new truck?
I believe some tools, because we didn't have enough compartment space on the old engine 5. Because this again will move into the frontline responding engine, where engine 5's kind of been just reserved at Scow Bay. I mean, we use it when there's a call out the road, but yeah, so it's just, I think like improving hand lights and some mounting brackets for our SCBA's. But yeah, we're not going over the top, buying all bells and whistles stuff. It's just stuff that we need.
Okay.
So did I understand right? You're saying that your number of volunteers, particularly with fire, is about status quo? It hasn't really dropped significantly?
I think it's dropped a little bit, but not tremendously. The issue with being volunteers and having volunteers is that not everybody is available all the time. I think EMS is affected most because we get the most calls, and that people have to actually commit to it. And it's hard for some people to commit to 12-hour shifts. With fire, you come if you can come, and search and rescue, same situation. So, I mean, it'd just be nice to have more, because even though, you know, there's 18 people on the fire roster, and that was by my count, it may have changed. Not all of those 18 people are available
Sure,
or want to come at 2 o'clock in the morning.
right. Or, is there a plan to restart the junior firefighter program?
Yes, we would like to do it. And I gave permission this summer to start this fall. And then there was a big surge in COVID stuff. So we held off. And then the chief and I have been talking, and we keep talking about wanting to do it. And then of course it got later and later. So in COVID stuff. So what we can't do, I mean, risk versus benefit. So when we bring those youngsters in, you know, eventually when they turn 18, they could certainly help our department. Right now, we don't get much from them. Benefit to them is that they learn to be a team player, and they learn some leadership skills, and they learn, you know, how to be a firefighter and use those things. But we can't utilize them too much. We can utilize them a little bit on the outside. But yeah, so it was too risky to risk bringing COVID into the department and affect the adults.
Sandy, what's the minimum age for the junior firefighters?
I believe it's, looking at Deborah, 14?
14?
That was part of the program. It was 14.
Um,
If you were, if you had a
Family member.
an adult or a family member in the fire department, otherwise it
15.
was 15.
Did they get any, would an incentive be like a civics credit or anything like that, the high school, where, you know, if you know, if an individual, you know, volunteered, you know, at 14, is there any way we could talk to the high school about giving like maybe a credit for civics or something like that?
It wasn't the kids that didn't want to volunteer. It's just that our policy is to not allow people under the age of 18.
No. I mean, to get them into the junior program so they can see what the fire department is like, you know, and get kind of, you know, interested in it at an earlier age. I understand they can't do anything until they're 18, but just as, to get them in to see what the fire department's like, and, you know, kind of get them interested. Yeah, they might be washing a truck or whatever you use them for, but just to get them into that, into the family, you know, of firefighters, and see that, you know, there is some benefits to it.
Maybe 1 or 2 years we've been short on the kids. Sometimes we have to put a cap on it because they're very interested.
Okay,
But yeah, we can certainly look into that.
And the incentive is, one of the other incentives is there's a scholarship.
yeah, I heard about
Yeah.
that at the
Yeah.
last meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's-
they
and that's
kind of get,
considerable.
yeah, they get a leg up if they're in the department, or they have a family member in the department. Got it? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, James Kerr, Chief of Police. Just to let you guys know what our department's made up of. We're slated for 9 positions. One of those is grant funded through CCAD. So currently we have 7 police officers, which includes myself and the captain. We have 1 CCAD investigator. We have 1 open position for officer. We're slated for 5.5 positions for dispatch. Currently, we only have 3 dispatchers working. Trying to recruit, so if you guys know anyone, definitely interested.
Chief was at 5.5? for
Yes.
Dispatchers.
And so just kind of let you know, go over some of this like kind of stuff Sandy talked about. We got 2 police vehicles on order. They've been on order for a long time. I don't even know, since sometime late 20, I think, is when we put in an order, I think, for it. We have 2 boat operators within our department. One's myself, one's Officer Harris. So we can help with EMS calls, search and rescue, and sort of off-island type stuff, or even on-island type stuff that we have to approach from the water. Just, let's see. Half the department is SWAT 1 and SWAT 2 certified. So that's basic SWAT and advanced SWAT operator to include hostage rescue. We have 2 officers that we're looking at sending to a sniper course, a basic sniper course, or having one of the AST instructors come down and put on the course for us as well. CCAD, talk a little bit about that. We had Ed Mercer, which is chief of police for Juneau. He came down. He's part of CCAD. We had the Lieutenant Campbell with,
What is, yeah, I was.
CCAD?
what's
oh,
CCAD?
sorry, it's Southeast Communities Against Drugs.
Okay, that's kind of like your
It's
statewide.
a drug task force. Yeah,
Drug
it's a
task force.
Southeast task force. And so,
Are there any, you guys, are any of the federal agencies, is DAA or,
yeah, I'll go. I'll
I'm
I'll talk
sorry,
about
I'm
all
sorry.
that stuff. So we have investigator Tate assigned to that. I currently do a 3-year rotation with that, and they get up to an additional year if they're doing a good job and being productive. One of the things I've seen is you don't want to leave a drug investigator in that spot for too long. It can go bad sometimes. It does go bad. CCAD's made up of Juneau Police Department, United States Postal Inspector Service, the FBI, Petersburg, the DEA, United States Coast Guard, Sitka Police Department, Wrangell Police Department, Ketchikan Police Department. I say Yakutat, Huna. But the contributing members to that is Juneau Police Department. So the ones that actually have a grant funded position is Juneau Police Department and Petersburg and AST. So they came down, or CCAD members came down the other day, last week. It was Ed Mercer who heads it up for Juneau Police Department, and then Lieutenant Campbell with Juneau Police Department, and then Sergeant Don Branson with Juneau Police Department. And then we also had the state HIDA director come down. It's a high intensity drug trafficking area. Alaska was we received that designation, so we get funds through HIDA as well. They came down just to meet and greet with us, talk about how they can assist us more, let us know. I take it as a very good compliment. Is we were actually given Juneau. Normally, Juneau has a bigger office, and so they actually house quite a few of their investigators out of there, and they're assigned different regions. And based on our involvement, we were actually just assigned Wrangell as well. So our drug investigator, who's funded through the state, works based out of Petersburg, still continuing all Petersburg cases, but we actually just received Wrangell as well. So that'll actually be a benefit to us. That's the way I look at it, because of the drugs that get trafficked back and forth between communities. So we'll be able to work with Wrangell a lot more on that. Other than that, they just broke down a little bit about how funding's going to go. They're going to supply all the travel and training for that. So we don't have to, we used to have to upfront the cost for all the travel and training, and when they go out on certain missions, and now we don't have to, it all gets done out of Juneau. So that's going to be a good help for us. Other than that, we're working on a thing with the fire department and with the, Don Spiegelmeyer's the one heading this thing up. We're looking at doing a chili cook-off, the 2 departments, police against the fire, which I think is going to be awesome. And then since stuff's starting to lighten up with COVID. One of the things I want to start doing is a monthly coffee with the cops. And I'd like to have, if there's someone from the Public Safety Advisory Board or a couple of you guys want to show up with that. It'd be nice to have that down in the training room. Thinking about, start off there, see how big it is. I don't know how many people will show up or not, but start off with different, rotate each month through the coffee shops, getting coffee from them, having it at the police department. They can come in, talk to me, talk to dispatch, talk to officers, talk to the drug investigator, talk to you guys. If you guys would like to show up, that's something I'd definitely like to start get going, since we're starting to move on, I guess. So other than that, you guys have any questions for me?
What's up with DARE? I know it kind of, COVID kind of took its toll on that. You expect to start back up? when?
Yeah, that's actually just on the school. I have my DARE officer, Jared Pop. Yeah, they're just, I'm pretty sure that stopped because of COVID and the entrance in the school's mitigation plan and stuff like that. So that's just on them. We're
Sorry.
actually willing to do any of that stuff, but it's based on their comfort level. So we're not gonna push anything.
Is Jared still the DARE officer?
Yep. Yeah, he loves that.
That's, 5th grade for DARE or 6th grade?
It's fifth, yeah,
grade here?
fifth.
Okay.
So in addition to you guys, because I always get like who actually belongs to who, what other law enforcement do we have right now here?
So currently we have 2 Alaska State Troopers. We have the wildlife sergeant which is Cody Lister.
Right.
And then we have Josh Span, which is the wildlife trooper.
Okay.
That's what my wife calls him, the baby trooper. That's what I would call him.
And then we also have Joey Boggs, the Forest Service. And then we have the 2 NOAA officers as well, which is Jared Cook and Amy Anderson, yeah.
They really get involved here.
We actually, when we need that, they're more than willing to help us out, but sometimes they're off doing their stuff on the NOAA stuff. We actually use them on some of our drug raids that we do when we need more people. We did one by boat to cover the backside of a house, and we had their assistance with that. So they like to get involved. It's a good experience for them, and it's a break from fish. So.
Another question. Jeff Mucci had mentioned ride-alongs, and he'd been doing some ride-alongs. And I know I've never been really through the facility very much. Is there any protocols? You need a heads up? Just give you a call and come down, or how do you feel about that?
So it depends upon what we have going on. If I have like a day notice, that's normally the best for me. Like the general public, I would make a little bit longer so I could plan it out. But for you guys, if I have 24-hour notice, that's normally fine. Get you guys plugged in. If I have something going on or something like that, then I'd let you guys know that, hey, we have to push it to this day. I don't know, some people forget about parts of this town. So maybe if you do want to do a ride along, like late afternoon to evening time, so you can start seeing the difference. So.
I was just curious if you watch the news and everything, or even part of everything on television, the talk is about fentanyl. And I was just curious, have you folks come across fentanyl starting to show up here? Because
Yes,
I don't
def-
know anything about it.
Yes, definitely.
Great amounts, small amounts. Take your pick.
It's kind of relative
Are they
term.
just cutting it? Are they just cutting into the heroin, chief? Why not?
So,
So in general, we've been seeing an influx in that, definitely. Both, mainly pill form. So
It's mainly what?
pill form,
Funny and
Pill
painful.
form.
Besides the cars you're waiting for?
normal, equipment wise, we're pretty well off. Been doing every year, I try to keep up on it because if you let stuff get too old or if you just wait until the last minute when you need stuff, you get hit with these giant bills and that's not good for anyone. So try to keep up on equipment and training, and as long as every year we're trying to replace stuff so that we don't get hit with giant bills, or if we have to, like the body camera stuff. That was nice. We were able to purchase body cameras through the COVID contact tracing stuff when it first came out, and we've actually used it quite a bit for that. Yeah, Axon. One of the things that we would like to do in the future is Axon actually has the in-car cameras, and we
Yep.
have in-car cameras right now for I think 2 of our vehicles. The other ones are either broken or the vehicles, the new vehicles coming in. It'd be nice to actually get Axon cameras as well. One of the benefits of going straight with Axon for us is it communicates, your taser communicates with the stuff. If you show up to a call and someone's car's going with their camera, when I show up, my camera will automatically engage itself. It'll turn it on. So it activates the cameras within the general area. If there's gunshot detection, it activates every single camera available to it.
You have in the car, are they Panasonic or are they Motorola or?
Honestly, they're ancient. I don't even know what they are. They keep on recycling them to cut down on cost.
But you would definitely need something so that they sync with each other. So if you needed new cameras, Axon would be the way you would want to go as opposed to getting a Panasonic or a Motorola, so you have the interface.
Yes,
With the
definitely.
body- With the body.
Definitely. And plus, when you go with the Axon in-car cameras, they actually don't bill you anymore for storage.
Right, for the
On-
cloud, right.
Yep, so all of our body camera stuff, everything would just be automatically uploaded by itself. We don't have, when the cars would pull in, they would either upload at the station or they would upload via the internet while they're out driving around. So then that takes it out of it. We don't have to keep storing that stuff on our servers, taking up a bunch of room. So I think it's a win for everyone. And plus we can redact stuff like I did with there was that DUI case I released some body cam footage for that. That was one of the nice things. You can redact stuff, you can blur faces, and we can do that through that same company.
As far as the vehicles that you ordered, were they through a dealership or just did the borough order those? Are you waiting for a dealership to deliver them? Or is it are they Fords again?
No, they're not Fords. They're Chevy Tahoes.
Okay, so is it just because they haven't made them yet? Is it the dealership that's holding you back, or is it, what's holding you back? from
Last
getting
I
the
heard,
vehicles?
we were in line for production. That's the last I knew. That's the last update I had, was that they were in line in production. Chris Cotta is the one.
Chris
that
Cotta,
does that.
who handles motor pool, would be able to answer your questions. He's the Public Works Director,
How you spell his last name?
COTTA.
I could actually reach out to him for you and provide that at the next meeting if you guys want.
In their Chevy Tahoes? And you ordered them with everything you needed, your lights, your radios, all that stuff, or you're scavenging from the older units? and putting them in the new units,
They actually should be coming fully equipped, except for
except for the cameras.
the camera and the computer stand mounts. So.
Do you have a contact with Axon?
Yes.
So has the ATV thing passed? It's like, it's a go?
Yeah, so that passed that with the assembly, or actually it didn't even pass. It just, when it was enacted
Right.
by the state, the assembly didn't shut it down. And so far, we haven't had complaints. We've been seeing the people driving those. They've been very respectable. Haven't seen them, haven't been getting complaints about them causing a bunch of trouble or anything. One of the nice things is, if they're properly registered because they actually have the license plates on them. So you can definitely tell those from the other vehicles or the other quads. And
Right. So they
ATVs.
have to have lights and tail lights. They have to have a horn.
So they don't, there's a whole thing. They don't have to have a horn. You don't have to have turn signals, but you have to use, you have to use your signals. They have to have insurance, they have to have registration, and they have to have the license plates. There is a thing, I think they have to have a light on the front and they have to have a red light or reflector in the rear, something like that. It goes into, there's a pretty in-depth thing that we had at one of the assembly meetings for it.
It's, you don't have the helmet if you're a driver, but if you're the passenger, you have to have a helmet.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is there an infraction table, if one of your guys stops them and, the passenger doesn't have a helmet? Is there an infractions table for that, or is it just?
Yeah, yes, there's fines for all that stuff. And basically like any moving violation on a quad is gonna be the same as a vehicle. So if they're speeding, they get the regular speeding ticket, it affects their driver's license, everything else. And they have to have a license to be able to operate it, has to be valid. So we haven't ran across any trouble with those things just yet.
For Jim or Sandy, the city manager sent out a note about some of the other advisory boards, just giving me some ideas about how they function. And I was just wondering if you guys had any thoughts that have been in your mind of what you would expect or what kind of help you guys want from the advisory board.
So I had an idea. We used to do it down south. Talked to Mark about it just a little bit. One thing I wouldn't be opposed to doing, starting up here that I haven't seen here, is use of force advisory board, use of force review board. Normally it's made up of people from the police department, person from the general public, normally someone that has law enforcement experience. So we could actually take two of you guys off of the public safety advisory board and someone with some legal background. And basically, after every use of force we have, we actually look at the policy, see if it met policy. If it didn't meet policy, we take action right there. But as part of a yearly thing at the end of every year, we could always meet up. I could have a thing of all the use of forces, and I could show you guys the policy, and then we could talk about it, see if it met policy, see if there's anything that could be changed, stuff like that. That wouldn't be in like a meeting like this. It would just be held downstairs, but that's something I'm definitely open to. Full transparency on stuff like that is better.
Mhm.
So.
With the dispatch. I know it's a problem.
Uh-huh.
What do you think? Is there something I can ask now?
Let's see.
Okay. What do you think has been the biggest drawback of getting qualified people to become a dispatcher? What do you need help with the most?
So basically, dispatch is one of those positions you're not going to pull someone from another community. You're not, unless they will actually want to be in Petersburg. Someone's not going to say, I want to move to Petersburg just to be a dispatcher. We had one dispatcher that had family here. That's why she moved here. So the biggest thing is the pay right now. When you look at it, they don't get paid all that well. It used to be a position where people would look at it as a career. I know my stepmom, she retired being a dispatcher, and it used to be a career path. People don't look at it that way with the view on law enforcement and stuff nowadays. People are choosing different paths that pay more. So I think if we could, one of the things my officers were wanting to do is talk to the school, see if there's any high school kids that are going to stay here after school, after high school, and try and get some of them interested in it. But I think the biggest thing is the pay. So if we were to be able to up the pay, that might actually get people interested in it. I'm just really thankful for the ones that we have right now, because they are working a lot and they understand that they're very critical to this community. We need them really bad, and they're putting in 12-hour days, working as much as they can.
They're presently funding to get them like dispatch trained and then theoretically medically dispatch trained.
Yes, I put money in the budget for
Okay.
that stuff.
And we're not, maybe you can use this, we're not getting any more money from state corrections for the corrections duty, is that correct?
So I can answer that. We actually have, you're talking about like the jail money, right?
Yep.
So we've been working with Alaska Municipal League, all of the rural community jails that have it. Our funding got cut back in 2015 or 2016. And then the state said, we're just going to pay you this much, which is like 174,000, which is ridiculous. And so all of the agencies have been talking, and we all kind of banded together through Alaska Municipal League and submitted all of our budgets, because basically the community's paying what the state's not. So if the state was to, because it doesn't matter if we have one prisoner or no prisoners, we have to have that place staffed. So our argument is that they should be on the hook for it. And we don't arrest people. Their big thing was, well, what about municipal charges? We don't arrest on municipal charges. All of our municipal stuff is all violations. So it would never be an arrest. And so all of our stuff is state arrest. So the state should be funding that 100%. Kodiak Kotzebue just got they filed some sort of lawsuit, and they got full funding for theirs. So everyone's banding together to try and get the funding. And that would, for this, I already did the jail budget, which was due a few months back because they have to have it for this executive session. And it was like little over $400,000. So if the state was to do that, they would provide us an extra $225,000 roughly. That would cure any worry that the assembly has on funding and extra pay for dispatchers and stuff. That would be no problem, because now the borough wouldn't be having to put that money out. Nils Anderson with the Alaska Municipal League.
I think it's Andreessen.
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Got his phone number?
Yeah, I have all his contact information. I actually have all the emails that have been going back and forth between us too, that shows the updates and the letters that we were sent to the executive committees and subcommittee stuff.
So I don't know who it actually gets addressed to, but I guess two things that, and now one has kind of shifted, is that potential parking space up at the airport. Whose space is that? Is that state?
I can answer that.
You.
That's Derek Lopez.
Yeah, I know, but is it
Randy Lo-
state or is it ours?
No, so that's, they actually leased it from the state.
Right, that's what I mean. But so the state is actually the one doing the leasee,
Yes,
leaser.
Yes,
Okay.
lessor.
Yeah,
So who does-
lessor.
So who does the enforcement?
We don't, they do. They have to tow vehicles, they have to do everything. We don't do any of that
There's a
stuff.
tow truck here that'll tow a vehicle?
Yeah,
There's tow trucks there.
we have one
There's
right
two.
now that we use. We use Petersburg Motors right now.
Oh, that's right there. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
just, again, this is all new to me. I haven't,
don't-
I know there's no AAA here.
I don't know what happened to Victor's after, before he got deported. I don't know what he did with his. Okay, so that's gonna be a state issue one way or the other. And then you said Haugen is actually the state's jurisdiction as well?
Yes, for like if you want to do any changes to that roadway or like the parking stuff, that would have to go through the state. I
So-
remember when they put in Hagen,
Yeah,
that was a big thing where people were talking about right there at Petersburg Motors. And I thought they originally said they were gonna paint that thing back further to limit the amount of vehicles so you can see when you go out there. No, that was when they first put that roadway in, when we were, or they repaved it, I mean.
right. So is there, again, this is, I mean, it's in our, our community. Who do we invite or who do we talk to, or do we have a conduit for dealing with state-related issues? Is that like the people up at the airport?
Yeah, it is. It's
Okay.
DOT. Mhm.
Okay,
So Barry Youngberg right now
Okay.
is the,
oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
It's easy. All right.
You guys want to change something like that, I think the best way to do would be to draft up a letter from the Public Safety Advisory Board to the Assembly saying, hey, look, we see this as an issue. We've talked about it at this level. And maybe have the Assembly write a letter of support to change the stuff as well.
or
And-
direct the manager to,
Yeah, I
blah,
mean,
blah,
I think
blah.
it's a relatively, I
Mhm.
mean, it's relatively cheap fix to put a couple of those parabolic mirrors up going in either direction. Then you're not having to creep out with your nose and,
It is a bad spot.
yeah,
It's a really-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just touch base with Barry off the grid and then we talk about that here, so.
You guys can put it on an agenda or something for a draft letter
Yeah,
or something along
yeah.
those lines.
Do you have any questions for us? Either one of you guys?
Ed,
So when you asked what we see from you as a board, we're not enterprise funds, so we don't operate the same way that Parks and Rec does or the library does. I guess they're not enterprise fund either, are they? Library?
they're not, they're also general
But their
fund.
board is very active, or the harbor board, because they're an enterprise fund as well. So supporting department requests. So if the police department or the fire department has a request, we need extra staff, or we need to fight for increase in salaries, or purchase something large that the borough doesn't want to do. That's where we would have discussed it at a meeting. And then if you as a board accept that or support that idea, then again, we would utilize your request that you write a letter to the assembly and say, hey, we support this. If you don't support it, then the conversations happened and there's more input then. So it's not just us being greedy or something. Along with vetting ideas. So Dr. T, you mentioned the parking at the airport or Haugen Drive mirrors. When people from the community come forth and say, hey, the speed limit's too fast somewhere, we want to slow it down, or hey, we need a stop sign on this corner, things like that. So they may, if they know you're on the board, they may talk to you, and then those things should go on the agenda and we'll discuss it. If we need to invite outside people like Barry Youngberg from DOT to come in to answer questions, or one of you can volunteer to go speak to them, and then you bring it to the board and we talk about it. Often traffic things goes to the police department, public safety things, fire safety issues, or I don't know, hospital issues, whatever can come to EMS. So that's what I kind of see as it. And then writing letters, as Jim mentioned. So one way or the other, like, hey, we don't support this, or hey, we do support this. And then that just gives the assemblies more information as to whether or not they should support it. They may still go the opposite and not support what you say, but anyway, it's just part of the discussion. So that's kind of what I see. Not so much, you're gonna rule us and tell us how to operate. I mean, you could provide input, obviously, but I don't see as a board that you're telling us how to do our jobs. So anyway, that's,
So typically, in the past, would you make requests to the Public Safety Advisory Board? Hey, could you give us some help or some feedback on this issue?
It's been relatively senescent. I
Um,
mean, before our last meeting, it'd been years since it was. a
yeah,
meeting,
so we use the Public Safety Advisory Board to try to pursue an extra staff, which we eventually got, EMS coordinator. Vehicles, you know, if we need to replace a vehicle, especially when they're old. And then, what was I gonna, oh, budget time. So we usually go over our budgets with the Public Safety Advisory Board, and then you can say, yeah, no, or yes, we support this, or maybe you should ask for more. So things like that.
As an advisory board, what's the issue or lack of issue with like talking amongst yourselves outside the thing, like an ex parte community? Does that apply to us?
It does. And
Okay.
the reason I say it does is because you are elected. You're
Right.
elected by
Okay, that's
our
why I just
voters.
didn't know if we.
So
we
I'm
were-
glad you mentioned that
Right.
because I wanted to bring it up for sure that
Okay.
you just have to realize that if there's ever three of you are a quorum because you're a 5-member board. So if there's ever 3 of you in the same place at one time, it's best if I can know about it. Maybe I can, do a PSA saying there may be a quorum of the Public Safety Advisory Board at this event, but they will not be convened as, in a meeting. So just make sure that you think about what other people perceive. So don't do too much talking about public safety advisory, it without being in the meeting. You know what I mean?
That's not open anymore, so that takes that off the board.
Yeah.
Question,
Yes.
can we make a comment about what happened last week at the meeting?
At the assembly meeting?
I missed it Monday.
It was the assembly meeting.
Assembly, yeah.
Yeah, you can talk, sure.
I listened, I'm sorry I wasn't there. I didn't realize how the meetings go. One's at 6 o'clock, one's at 12 o'clock. Debbie and Steve and I talked about it the other day, and it all makes sense to me. And I heard the whole thing, and I just want you to know, Chief, that nobody here wants to defund the police department. I know there are a lot of people who are, commenting about defunding the police department and that type of thing. Nobody here, I think I can speak for everybody, nobody here wants to defund the police department. All right, people get mixed ideas of hearing things from down south about defunding police departments and making it a public safety, which is all the same. The department I left, instead of the Connecticut State Police, it became the Department of Public Safety and Environmental Protection, blah, 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 blah. And it had nothing to do with anything except we were still the state police. So I want you to know that nobody here is trying to, dissect and take apart the police department. I felt very bad about that I wasn't there because I would have spoken up very quickly and straightened a few people out. I just want you guys to know that.
So one more thing I wanted to mention while we're just having a discussion about agenda items. You don't really have a regular schedule for your meetings. You really meet as needed. You guys can change that if you want. You can decide you want to have a meeting every 2 months or every 3 months or whatever, that's something we can talk about. But whenever you do schedule a meeting, there needs to be a deadline for agenda items so that staff, who right now will be the clerk's office, but at some point when Jim's staff is fully staffed and he has an admin, the admin will take over being staff to this board. But anyway, there needs to be enough time for the admin to put together an agenda, send the draft to the board for any comments in case we've forgotten something or worded something wrong, and then publish the agenda to the public. There's not really a set time, but I try to do it 3 days ahead. Is what I try to do. So anyway, let's just think about whenever a meeting is set, let's say if it's set on a Tuesday. So your deadline for agenda items is going to be the end of the day, the Tuesday prior. 1 week prior to the meeting date will be the deadline for agenda items. Okay,
Wait, 1 week you said?
1 week
Oh, okay, I
prior.
thought you said 1 day. or
1
3
week,
days. Okay,
yeah.
good. Those are 3 days. What was the 3-day thing then you said?
I try to publish
Oh,
the
okay,
agenda
Okay,
3 days before the meeting.
okay.
It's not the end of the world if it's 2 days, but I try to get it out there early enough. And then if you guys have any questions, technical questions during the week or anything about the meetings or how you would, how do we talk about this or how can we, handle this? Feel free to just email me or give me a call and I'll involve these guys if needed and we'll figure it out.
No, I know. Well, the next is, do we want to like kind of tentatively just set up like quarterly meetings and
Yeah.
or as needed? Or, I mean, that would be my, at least outline would be, we have a quarterly meeting unless otherwise necessary. Because then I think next time we actually come with some, some real items and having talked about the road things and the parking and all that kind of stuff, and everybody else could kind of come up with what they, want to throw in there so we can actually do some business.
I think you actually have the one that Carl Hagerman was referring to, you guys, or Steve, the street light. I can forward that back to you.
PIA streetlight.
Yeah, that one. And then you, didn't they also have the one from?
So John Murgus is the other thing I
was
saw.
Correspondence.
Oh, that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's in the
Yeah.
packet.
Yeah.
It's for the Public Safety Advisory Board. I have to be honest in that I haven't been able to read those emails yet.
Is it in here somewhere?
It isn't, not
Oh,
the
okay.
streetlight one, because I
Alright.
didn't realize.
Okay. So I motion that we tentatively schedule quarterly meetings or as needed.
I'll second that.
Quarterly
Quarterly
meetings
meetings, Dan?
or as needed.
Okay, fine.
Excellent. Okay,
Okay,
Hey
So-
Debbie.
yes? Yes,
Hey, I was-
Jeff?
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
sorry,
Hey,
go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to say thanks for the group for getting together here. The assembly might be doing some work over the next couple of months that we might need the advice of the Public Safety Advisory Board. And I was wondering how we should do that if we were looking for some, I don't know if advice, but some direction, or if we wanted the Public Safety Advisory Board to look into a few things. How do you suggest we do that, Debbie? If they're just gonna meet on a quarterly basis, if the assembly had some issues that we needed help looking into, should we just have the manager forward them to the Public Safety Advisory Board and they can get back to us, or? Can you give me
Well,
some
it's
guidance
quarterly
there?
or as needed. So if there's an issue, we can definitely, as far as I'm concerned, we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct, Jeff. I think that if the assembly requests that the manager ask the Public Safety Advisory Board to meet to discuss a subject that the assembly needs them to discuss, then we just set up a meeting.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
That. So if that's everything, then So let me, first
Okay.
question here. So if quarterly or as needed, so quarterly means right now is February. So that would be January, February, March. Are we gonna go April, maybe May then for the next meeting?
So the only question I have about that is there anything that tends to happen that we should be like a month before, or, like, is there a budget, is there any kind of budgetary things that happen so we could kind of,
I was just gonna say
okay.
that before May 1st.
All right. So again, and I guess we can always shift, but I'm just trying to figure out like, if we need to rotate the whole thing so it matches up, whether you get 12 weeks before this or.
Right, we may need to do that because
Okay.
there will be some budget stuff coming up. And that's usually more like March, April, right? Okay, so it might be, okay, yes. So if,
End of March, to the manager, which would be
Steve, and that, so
Steve.
that's before it goes to the assembly. And so you guys would probably want to present your budgets to the Public Safety Advisory Board before, yes, before it goes to the manager? Or is it after it goes to the manager? That's what I thought.
What's the deadline date for them?
It sounds like mid-March to the manager.
Well,
So
okay,
why don't-
so
What'd you
that
s-
would be something that you do, you know.
Like the first week of March?
Second week.
Second or first week,
Second.
whichever, a week before it has to go, before the assembly.
So that's coming right up. Are you guys gonna have your, you probably,
I don't think, I think all of our stuff.
true. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's not set up another meeting immediately. Let's keep tentatively in our head, like late April, early May, unless we call you for a meeting sooner. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then if everybody's done, to adjourn, someone just needs to make a motion in a second.
So moved.
Pretty sure we have a communications here, don't we?
Oh, yes, you do. And yes,
Withdraw the motion. Well, there's no action to be taken. That's just John saying he wants to do it, right?
right. I mean, you don't have to, you can talk about the communication. It's completely up to you guys.
It seems to be working out so far, correct? The ATV thing?
Yes, and they have to have a license.
License plates this way or the stupid way so they can't read them?
Everyone I've seen is like horizontal.
All right.
So everyone that I know that's done it.
Thank you.
I know everyone that I've talked to or I've seen with the license plates and their vehicles registered, they're taking a lot of pride in this. It is something that they've been fighting for a while. It's something that they definitely do not want to lose. So they are staying above the bar, want to make sure they're asking for feedback, see if they have any complaints, if people are complaining about it, because they want to do it right. This is something that the assembly said they were gonna let it go for a little while and maybe review it sometime after next winter. So far it's going great, and I don't see the people wanting to, or the community wanting to ruin that. So,
Well, it's
And-
gonna be the kids that come up off the muskeg when it's frozen and, you know, cruise down the road for a little while and see somebody then dart through somebody's yard that are gonna be the problem.
yeah, and those things, they're gonna get criminally
Yeah.
charged. They're gonna get their quads impounded. So there's gonna be some hefty fines, and there's felonies and everything else, misdemeanors that get associated with all that stuff. So it's better to do it right. And the kids, I'm sure someone's gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
But that person's gonna pay the price for it, and hopefully they learn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Hands up.
And meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.